pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. You getting shorter?
Actually, I think I am.
All right.
I used to be 6'6".
Roll call.
Malik,
Yes.
Martini,
Here.
Jankowski,
Here.
Snyder,
Here.
Singquist.
Here. All right. Any agenda additions? I added the budget under new business before the meeting, so it's slightly different than previous, but any agenda additions?
I would just, I thought we were going to blow off the Huron Valley Watershed Council till I had something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So I don't have something this week.
Okay.
I'll let you know when I do.
Okay. Anything to add?
Nope.
All right.
I was just going to talk about that Eagle grant that I wanted to submit an application for.
Okay, so let's add that to, let's do that to 7B, new business, Eagle Grant.
Now that we've got the signage and all that covered, some of that stuff can be
Yeah, we'll take it off when we get there. We'll get rid of it.
All right.
So we'll add that under 7B for the Eagle Grant. Okay, move to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, approval of the meeting minutes. I just combed through them quickly. I think it captures the discussion.
Yep, I agree.
If nothing else, the video's on the YouTubes.
Yeah. I move we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that. All right. Call to the public. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, call to the public. We got one.
Unbelievable.
Mr. Laborn again.
It used to be a packed house here. Now that we have the TV, nobody wants to come in here.
No, yeah,
The only sad
and it
part-
hasn't been a packed house long before there was
The
TV.
sad part of it is that the village does not get the perspective of the residents. When they used to be all coming to see what was happening in the council or the water management board, this place was packed because they wanted to find out.
Yep. I mean, a lot of
Especially-
people get stuff off our social media and email distributions too at this point, so.
Well-
But it's been a while
A lot
since
of
it's been a
people don't
packed
care.
house. So-
I brought a sheet that for you folks last week
Can you
concerning...
do name and address?
Oh,
just so
David
she can get it?
Leyburn from 2335 Shankin.
Yep.
Concerning the parks, private parks around the village.
Okay.
And the DNR wrote me a letter way back saying that if the council and the village would like to adopt some of the rules for the lakefront owners and also the back lot owners that they have, to work with them, and they'll help the village adopt an ordinance. And the reason I'm saying that is, we had some people come to our little park, and they have 2 boats there. And I said,
This is
well,
off of Shankin?
yeah, and I said to them, what is going to happen if 3 or 4 more people want to put a boat down here? Because right now only 2 are taking advantage of it. I said, well, we'll just put more docks out. You know, if we have to go 250 feet, we'll do that.
Who said that?
One of the backlot owners.
Is this Shankin by Newport? At the end of Shankin and Newport?
By, at the end of Shankin,
Oh, okay, okay.
way at the end,
Down,
okay? Here,
where's that down there?
Yeah, or we could
Let me
throw
pass.
it up on the map here. I'm just pulling it up.
these out.
Yep, perfect.
Might help.
Yep. You could. Does it see him? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Lano.
How are you doing,
Sits on the
man?
north side.
I'm fine.
I'm glad to see you above ground.
Well, the days are getting shorter.
So this is the north side of Shankin.
Okay, the first page there is the dock was put in. And a lot of people don't understand what a riparian rights are, especially the new ones that come into the village. They just feel they can put a dock anywhere. And in order to put a dock, you have to have riparian rights, period. So this gentleman here came and he put that dock in there. And I have correspondence from a gentleman that contacted the police and also the administrator that he didn't have the right to be there. He didn't give him authorization. The village didn't do anything about it. They came to me, and since I was a councilman, for help. Well, you know, I'm a stubborn man. If somebody asks me to do something and somebody's doing anything illegal, then I'll make sure that that dock gets out of there. And we did get it out eventually. But what I'm trying to say is that that could have been all eliminated by the way I was approached by the chief when I moved to this village back in 1975, where I was going to put a dock on Canal Street, and the residents came to me and said, David, you don't own the bottom of the lake here. We do. And I had no clue what riparian rights were. That's why when I was a board chairman of the Water Management Board, the first one, I brought the DNR lawyer and invited all the private parks in the village to come in and listen to him, what kind of liabilities they had, how things worked. Unfortunately, some of the smaller ones where you can only put 2 or 3 boats, those people didn't come. He had, if you go down Wolverine Drive, you'll see a lot of them where they have signs, their rules, the whole works. And you don't have any problems there as such, like you do here. We went through hell on this dock that was brought in. As you can see, you have a letter from Mr. Powers. I knew the DNR people pretty well because I went there several times to lower the lake 5 feet so we can get 1,200 stumps out. I also went there because they wouldn't allow us to use the right amount of chemicals for sonar that turned out to be very successful. So I had built a good rapport. So if you read this letter that I gave you last week, and I just made another copy, he's saying they're willing to work with the village in order to get some of these rules, you know, adopted in the village. Now, the thing about it is that the village did not want to do any of these when I brought it up. And what I found out was the gentleman that had that dock illegally there, that the people came to me to help them get it out, donated walkie-talkies to the police department. And I was not aware of it until I found out later. And they had a lot of protection from the police department. And I had documents and so forth. And the police chief at that time said, well, we have Marine Patrol, but he doesn't have authorization to make any changes and so forth. I have to have a police officer to do the lake. So we went from $18 an hour to $38 an hour to put a police officer out there. But all they had to do is go over there and say, look, it's riparian rights, you don't belong there. But they didn't. And caused that whole community, village, in my neighborhood, was one of the top neighborhoods in the village. We had kids at cool parade, and people were calling us, you know, why are you guys doing so many things over there? And we had the fire department come, the police department come, and we had all kinds of treats for the kids and the whole works. But all that went away because all of a sudden we had 3 people that started attacking everybody else type of deal. That could have the whole thing could have eliminated. Now there's a big park down on Laguna, am I correct? What prevents those people putting 20, 40 boats in there? We don't have an ordinance for that.
Well, doesn't the DEQ,
Pardon me?
doesn't the DEQ or the DNR
No.
govern, that would be considered a marina?
Read the letter, what he says. We can't handle those. That's why they want to work with the local municipalities in order to do that. The only way we could have gotten that guy, other than the way I did it, was by taking him to court. And of course, you're talking about money. Just like the keyhole ordinance, when the village put that in place, we stopped a problem since the Panhandle was being developed. The developer could have bought one of the houses and made it into a park. And that would have been a mess for that subdivision. But we put the keyhole ordinance and stopped something like that. So a lot of people say, well, are we having a problem now? Part of the way I look at it, part of these boards and councilmen is they got to think 5, 10, 15, 20 years down, how is the village going to look? And that's a key information that we should, look into it.
So did you say there was an ordinance?
No, there isn't an ordinance for somebody. Who's waterfront? Here, I know Ed is.
Yeah.
Who else?
I
Okay.
am.
I can come over there and put a dock in front of your house as long as I don't touch your, and you don't have anything other than you can take me to court. The police won't change it, DNR won't change, even though it's a state law. They want the village, the cities, to put those ordinances in there so they can enforce it. He said that they had over 3,000 complaints, something like that. So it's not a problem that we're having. We just got to be on top of it so we don't have this kind of a problem again.
Did you
Dave,
happen to
have you-
share this with,
I'm sorry?
did you happen to share this with the council as well? Have you talked to that at the council meetings?
Way back then, yes, because,
You haven't recently, though.
not recently, no, because I just found out some things recently that it's not going to look good for somebody in this village. But making a long story short, at that time, the documents you're getting now is the same documents I shared with the council members. But you got to remember, that gentleman that was in violation, illegal dock, had the police department on his side. He gave them walkie-talkies. The marine
Right,
officer
yeah,
would
yeah.
take his boat
Right.
over there and park on the park, and people would come to my neighborhood and say, David, why don't you guys do something about it? I would call the administrator and say, look, we're trying to solve this problem, but yet we're showing favoritism through the police. They would see the police officer being on his deck having beverages with him. And the more they saw that, he would bring his private boat there. He took the jet ski there. And in essence, the police department should have stayed out of there rather than showing favoritism. I was told by the administrator, well, we want our officers to be friendly with our community. Well, yeah, that's fine, as long as there's no issues with them.
So I don't want to cut you off, but I want to just make sure that I'm following. Is there a current problem at this moment in time, or last time you were in, you were talking about us taking an initiative and trying to push some ordinances or make
No,
sure
no.
we adopt ordinances relative to riparian rights? That was like last month you came in.
That's it, right.
Is there a follow-up condition today that is currently a problem?
No,
Or
well,
is it-
all I'm saying is, we need to adopt this riparian rights,
Yep.
because every one of you that has waterfront property, you might have the same problem as we did down there.
Yep.
People that are coming into the village do not understand riparian rights, and we're not doing anything to educate them.
Yep.
Like I said, one of the things that I did as a board chairman, I had the top lawyer from DNR that retired and started his own law firm come here and talk to all these parks. And it was very informative, because I found out that my board members didn't know anything about riparian rights. and they lived here. So all I'm saying is, you know, if you can think of the future, start now. Because if they decide to put 20, 30 boats down there,
Mhm.
it's not gonna be the same lake.
Sure.
You know, I'll be long gone, but,
Right, I guess what I'm trying to understand is last month when you were in, we had this conversation, you brought up the fact that we should consider adopting local ordinances for riparian rights and that the DNR can enforce it, et cetera, that you made that
no,
point
we
last
can
month.
enforce it then,
I
if
know.
we adopt it.
We can,
We
I know. What I'm saying
Yep.
is, you're suggesting we adopt our own so that we can enforce them because the DNR cannot. And you made that point.
No,
last
they can
month.
enforce it, but they don't have the time to enforce
I
that kind of
understand.
stuff.
Yep.
Unless you take that person to court. And we
Yep.
shouldn't have to do that.
Yep, and that's the point that you made last month, and then last month we had asked, is there a specific issue today that you want to address? Is there an additional specific issue at a specific site or something, or is it the same concern?
If you want to, yes, come on over to my house and I'll show you, because we still have the problem.
Okay,
I was there, 4 people have owned that house. Nobody had, what do you call it, dock at that time
Mhm.
in the park. This guy came, it was friendly with the
so
police
there's
department.
still today a dock in.
We have
Park.
another person come in, that they bought the house, went to foreclosure, and now what happened is that he was told he can park the dock in the park
Okay,
riparian rights,
okay,
and that's wrong.
okay, so the same
As a
location.
matter of fact, I have a picture of what I see, the other 2 boats in the back. If you said my property, I have to look at this boat instead of the lake.
Okay. Okay, and this is at,
2335 Shaken?
yep, and looking across to the houses off the end of Solano?
Yes. I have stacks and stacks of information if you'd like to sit down and talk.
Okay. And this area is a road ending park?
That's a road ending.
It's a road ending park?
Yeah.
So the
About 30 people own that. Now, we have 2 people that have parked their boats in. They went from a 20-foot dock all the way to 65 feet dock. And they can't pull their boats all the way in, so therefore it's sticking way out where it blocks.
Zoom out a little.
This is the top of it,
Oh, I see. Oh,
but I guess this is
Oh.
the road ending park here.
oh, I see. Okay, now,
At the end, at the end of Shanken,
Mhm.
which I actually didn't know that we had a road ending park there. But, let me see.
By the
Okay.
way, I got that in there too, so that comes from the village to
Mhm.
show. And this does not show any waterfront whatsoever. In 2010, the tax assessor sat at his desk and looked at the computer and decided he had several feet of waterfront. But that doesn't give him riparian rights. This I found out back in 1975. I told him that that property did not have waterfront property. He says, well, you're doing more analysis than I am. I'm just sitting at my desk and figured that out. Now, the gentleman that had a legal dock there went to DNR to get a permit, and he was refused. The gentleman was asked, if you read that letter again from Mr. Powers, he'll tell you that there was a violations, that they were sending somebody out there, and the gentleman did not reply to the DNR questions.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, there's a private sea park there. That private park is owned by people on
The Shaken
Shanken?
subdivision.
Okay.
And now,
so there is a dock there currently.
there's 3 docks now. We started with a 20-footer, now we have, 2 docks. We went from a 20-footer to about 60-foot, roughly. And then there's the other dock that's from Solano, that he doesn't have any riparian rights.
Okay.
All I came tonight to find out if you would have put it, because you guys voted to put it on your agenda, and I don't see it, or something to work on, and I don't see it.
You mean from the last meeting?
Yeah.
I didn't
The
realize.
gentleman, it was right here. You made the motion, and you folks agreed on it.
We didn't make a motion. The minutes are
I
here.
didn't see it in the minutes.
No, I didn't either. I didn't think we made a motion. When you left the last meeting, you indicated that you would bring back notice of a violation at this meeting, because we'd asked at the
I
end
said I
of
was
the
going to
meeting.
follow up with some more documents.
Mhm,
But
yeah,
this is about half of 1% of documents that I have. So,
Okay.
But I think it certainly makes the point. So is this something that needs to be brought to council for discussion?
now, I'll be frank with you.
Well, I think it belongs at council.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Ed.
we
You
don't
know
have
why?
the authority.
Because when I
Yeah,
went to
what kind of
Lansing
authority do you
for,
think we have here?
I went to DNR, I did all the hard work
This guy has-
for this village to put chemicals on here, on the lakes, without going to council. I flew down to Florida on my own time to find out how that product worked, and I brought it back. I went to Lansing in my own time to talk to those people and get all that stuff done before we went to council and explain to them the whole thing, because they didn't want to give us 5 feet, they wanted 2.5 feet. But they understood that I was very sincere of what I wanted to do with this village, and we wanted to improve our village, not do anything to, because they were afraid of fish kill, and we didn't have any fish kill. It was a very successful program. So what I'm saying is that you do the grunt work, and the council, you present it to the council, and then the council can say, yes, we want it, no, we don't. Because what you're trying to do is improve the village.
Yes.
That's all. I have any questions or anything?
No, I think I better understand the problem now. I'm looking at maps and trying to understand the location, but I understand.
So they're over in this
Yeah.
thing right here. So does,
Might not be a bad idea to take all this information he's given us so we can study it at home instead of trying to study it, make a decision.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to make a
So this is
decision
where the parking
here.
is at.
Yeah.
If this even is in conflict with what I have as the
Yeah.
village map, which is this,
Mhm.
which shows 2301 actually has lakefront,
yeah.
and this here shows that they don't.
Hmm.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the documents that we have as far as like who has
The
lakefront
property lines,
property
yeah.
at that park, and even what's on Oakland Property Network is in discrepancy with the document that we have, just even from our own village engineer.
Well, I was at the ZBA, and that gentleman was trying to do improvements in his house,
Yeah,
and the chairman says, well, you don't have any waterfront property, because the thing that the village sends out, and originally, it did not. They changed it in 2010, waterfront, because they needed tax dollars, because our economy is down. That was not a very good explanation to me.
So does he
I
or
guess
does he
I'm
not?
confused on that.
Sure.
I
So
own
this
property
guy
on
does.
Shoreline,
Yep.
this guy has. this
so I have
whole thing.
riparian rights. I have access to the lake, direct
And
access
this is
to
the
the
one in
lake.
question, right?
So how would
Or is it
anybody
this
else
thing?
that
This
had
one,
a shoreline
You
piece
said
of
there were two.
property
What's the
not
other
have
one?
riparian rights?
Because you
This one
guys,
is one.
Yeah,
He's saying
in
this
inlet
isn't
lakes,
yeah.
This
Okay.
shows
Mhm.
nothing, but
Yep.
this same
your property, in some cases, will go practically in the middle of the lake.
Yep, mine does.
Some property
Which there it
will
shows.
stop
but,
at the
I mean,
water,
There it shows that.
because the other people across the,
Are the ones that own the,
yeah, just like a
Yeah.
canal, remember I showed
True.
you?
yes.
Yeah.
and
So
I-
that's the reason.
I
It's
see.
just probably
You cannot put
an
anything.
accurate
you can't even
drawing, right,
put
a rendering.
An anchor in somebody's
Yeah.
property
It's the
on the
official,
lake.
That's the official, right?
Yeah.
More importantly, it's the key.
Actually.
Something
Yeah.
happened in Orchard Lake where guys were having those boom boxes, music
Is that
all
right?
over the place.
Yeah.
They had the anchor down, and the guy couldn't sit in his yard, so you call
Is
him
this-
Oakland County Marine
is this-
Division.
this-
Guess
is
what?
this the one
They
that-
came over there and had him move it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He says, why? He says, the guy underneath this water owns that property. Doesn't want to hear the music.
yeah, he could float all day, but once.
That's
he-
why I say, you know, if you folks can do some, because
Has
That-
this.
pretty
is his-
soon,
that's his-
you know,
that's his
down
riparian
by
rights, right?
Yeah.
So it's only.
Pretty soon, you're gonna see two docks,
How old is
and
this
then
thing?
you're gonna have 20 docks before you know it.
The image?
Yeah.
It's not that we don't want people to enjoy the lake, we do,
Correct.
but they gotta do it legally,
I agree.
just like you and I having a waterfront.
I agree.
I mean, that. This one, I'm not sure.
Thank you for
about. This one-
clarifying
this
that. I don't
one,
have any further questions.
I don't either.
Yeah. You said it was two, it looks like one from the aerial view, that it's one dock that could be in question.
Yeah.
No, there's two. And the reason being is that when they put the 60-foot dock, the boat only goes about 4 or 5 feet on the dock. It gets too shallow for them to bring the 25-foot all the way to the dock.
It's like this one, you can't tell what this is,
I'm guessing that's this one, right?
Yeah.
Just,
based on the shape.
well, yeah, I don't know.
But this one might have extended.
The old dock that was there,
Yeah.
you'll see it under 52 there. They took that one down and they extended that out farther.
Okay. I'm just looking on the Oakland Property Gateway. It shows the property lines. Okay, so. Okay, I think we understand the request.
So what's the next step for this?
I think we probably need to review it and discuss it and figure out what we want to do.
See if we have a recommendation or not.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, it comes down to the fact that there are rules already that are not enforced from the DNR because they don't have the bandwidth. And then the question is, do you want to have those same rules at a village level to be enforced by the village?
Ryan, I think we have enough information here, and I think maybe you should get in touch with the administrator
Okay.
and find out what the situation is and what we can and can't do.
Okay.
I will follow up with
Okay,
future meetings.
cool, thank you.
All right. Yep,
Yep,
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, more clear this time, understanding what the problem is. Okay, so we'll close the call to the public. Okay, the next agenda item is new business. I added the budget. I don't know if anybody was able to print it out. We're supposed to send a draft budget to council, and then they review it at their May meeting, and then they're probably going to have a follow-up working session on it. So I don't know if you guys had input on the budget. There are a couple of line items in here that we probably need to address. Kind of wanted to run that against, you know, some of the long-range goals that we had for the board. We had a handful last time, so a couple of things. I'll start with kind of the bigger maintenance items. So last time we had board projects. We had a $10,000 budget in line for board projects that we had secured for erosion and potentially matching for this Clean Waters, Clean Boats Act that we didn't end up using. We've only used about $700 of it on this budget. I also had budget allotted there for this website update, which is still ongoing. So we have this $10,000 for this year. The previous year we were carrying $2,500. I think that's one of the main line items. If we look at kind of a lot of the stuff that we wanted to do as a board, it would fall into that board project. So the types of things that I guess I'll just kind of rattle off some stuff that we had written down previously was the removal of the aeration lines and heads, which I think we voted this year to not do and to leave it. Expanding the Hobo Link system if we wanted to do that, which I don't think there's any drive right now, but we could expand that to do more lake chemistry metrics versus just the height and the depth and temperature. So that was something that we had on the list. We had this shoreline restoration project, which was something that Mike Hurst was driving for a while, and then we never really found a location for it. We previously had money approved for that, and we couldn't come to an agreement. So that was something that was still out on the list. This year we had the expanded signage for the DNR launch, which we accomplished. We already took care of that. We probably want some budget for the Boater Safety Festival. remember we were talking about doing that for 23, so we probably want to add something in there. We had the QR codes that are linked in with the map, so we need some budget associated with that.
How about the website? Was that,
Yep, so the website, I'll get to that in a second, so the website is something. Any kind of fish stocking is a separate line item. Another project we had there, if you remember back in the day, Mike Hurst was talking about investigating doing like nesting platforms. Remember that?
Yeah.
We were talking about, doing blue heron nesting platforms, trying to do something there. So that was something we had on the list that nobody really pursued.
I think we got enough waterfowl on that, right?
Yeah, and then upgrading the website content. So that was like the list that I had of things out there, and then the other piece was, we had talked about, which is something that I think I'd like to see us pursue, but every year we get complaints about lack of fishing spots and the difficulty of fishing off of the boardwalk on the far end.
Yeah.
And people were, at least online, there was multiple conversations about having a modification to the Benstein walkway such that you could actually fish and the railing is not above your head and people are on step stools and stuff.
Right.
So we had talked probably about a year ago about trying to modify something there to get a space where people could fish comfortably
Yeah.
instead of trying to fish over a rail, right?
Yeah.
So that was a project that we had talked about a long time ago as well. That could be something we could look into it. So those are the things that we kind of had on the list of things we were thinking long-term we'd want to pursue, that I think we should figure out what in 2023 we'd like to go after, if any of them. So I'm just going to make some notes here. So to me,
the modification of the fishing site would be,
We have to remember that I was instrumental in the construction of that, not necessarily the idea, but it has to be a certain height for safety.
yep,
Now, the pillars are this way, there's no reason why you can't put the pole down here.
yeah, I think it's.
And I think that's kind of petty, and the other thing is, that is so inundated with weeds, I don't know how you could fish in there anyway.
People
Well-
do,
They do,
and they catch a lot of bass.
It wasn't designed as a fishing dock.
No,
It was designed as a walkway
yeah.
to access the north to the south, south to the north, okay?
yep,
And I can understand somebody wants to bring their child or they want to fish off it, but that wasn't the design or the
Yeah.
purpose.
yep,
Right.
It was to a walkway to get from one part of the village to the other without having to go in the roadway.
yep.
So to pursue that, to me, I think is out of the question. I mean, as a person that lives here, I don't live on the water, but it's, if I want to go from Thurston or Del Monte to Lakeview, I got a way to get there without walking on the road.
Mhm.
And I don't need.
Are there other areas where you could put some sort of fishing spot?
Well, that's every subdivision in this lake except for like Heron Hills, which is way back off of Commerce there, South Commerce, has access to the lakes, okay? And you can stand there and fish if you like. As a backlot owner, if you go to a road ending or whatever, I just don't see us building up the walkway, and then you're putting something in that deters from, let's say somebody wants to go down there that's got a wheelchair. Okay, so now you got a platform sticking out that gets in their way, okay? Because somebody wants to step
No,
up taller.
I'm not saying,
Well, I'm using it as a
Yeah.
potential example.
no, the idea was not, the idea that we had previously talked about was, the walkway is like this,
Right?
and we could do something,
Like a platform that.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you're redesigning what was initially put together.
There's a couple jetties on that anyway.
So, and again, I'm
On
just
that
giving it
bridge.
as my own personal point of
Have you
view.
walked the bridge?
Okay.
yep,
And I think there's two
Yeah.
jetties like that. And if you really wanted to fish, there's nothing stopping you from putting your pole out in the middle
Agreed.
between all that.
To the other point, though, and I think it's worth consideration, is that one of our objectives as a water board was to try to make relationships for non-riparians people that live in this community but don't have direct access to the lake, a friendlier place to go. I live inboard, I can't get to the lake, the launch is full, I want to take my grandkid out to fish. What's the harm in putting a platform or two out on the walkway?
I was adamantly opposed and still am to our DNR access, that if you live on the lake and you want to put your boat in, if that parking lot is full, you can't put your boat in.
Yep.
But we don't control that, that's DNR.
Well, they didn't, and we gave them that permission. So somebody who lives on the lake on a Sunday afternoon, the rain stopped, hey, let's take the kids out, they can't put it in. And so that's a hampering. And the other thing is, it's like anything else. If you don't live on the lake, don't expect to have the same privileges as the people who do live on the lake. Now, if you can go, you can't fish off the bridge. I don't know if people get chased off of the berm here by the dam.
I'm sure they do.
Well,
Marked private,
less
no
Well,
trespassing.
Well,
private
one
property.
half of it is marked as,
Yeah.
trespassing.
Well, another thing you have to look at too, if you do a jetty of some sort, you're going to have engineering, it's got to be structurally sound. You know, you just can't decide to take out a
maintained.
piece of rail and
Right.
put in a little
Exactly.
That's
extension
That's why we're talking
This is
about a
exactly
budget.
why we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a big possible expense there,
Could be.
so.
Yep.
Could
I mean, I guess it can be looked at, but
Yeah.
I just don't see it as a feasible project down the road.
Well,
That's my personal feeling.
okay.
Well, if you remember down right by the water, not far from where you live, remember where Bob Harrison used to live?
Yeah.
Guy put a dock out, one boat on each side. Guy had another dock, another boat on each side. They went out where they had, 10 or 12 boats there?
No, we had 56 foot of dock. I was involved in that way back when. It never bothered any of the lake flow because of the property that Harrison had.
Yeah.
It was hid behind that peak. It becomes a riparian thing, okay, and I listen to this and I know what's involved because we had a lawsuit go. Okay, the people on the western side of that dock felt it was infringing on their riparian rights because boats pulled in and out across the front of their property. Well, in court, the subdivision did lose, so we had to remove the dock, and it can only put in 2 boats now, one on each side of the dock, okay? So it's,
Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions.
there's tons of restrictions.
Okay, so the point of this was to talk about budget, and as a board, are there projects we want to take on in the next calendar year that require budget? The ideas I spit out are ideas that we've had in the past that we have not yet pursued, that all which would require money. To Paul's point, right, one of the things that we said as a board is making the lake accessible to those that do not live on the lake, which is why I brought up the fishing thing, because it's something that people have complained about on social media before, and something that I thought we could help with, or at least budget for and consider and understand what it means. With that said, of those projects or any other ideas that people on the board have, what type of things do we want to put budget in for? I just spit out the list that I had been tracking. At a minimum, we want to put budget in for the safety festival, right?
Yep.
Last time Chief was here, he said it can be had for cheap just because so many people donate to it. He said it could be $500 or so I think we should probably throw $1,000 in the budget to execute that, to make sure we've got something. We'll not use it all. The website, we'll get to that. We've got the RFP out for the website for the map update.
Right.
We did get some feedback from at least one person, so I think we want to budget for that.
Okay.
You know, one
Well, I
thing
think
we used to do, and we didn't, because we always heard from the DPW that they were overworked and oppressed. Now that we have another DPW, I think picking up weeds on the street on Fridays is a good thing to do. We used to do that every Friday. Like, I don't know, I'd say start around the lake.
On the street?
Yeah.
So like the leaves,
Like
you
a
do the
garbage
pile
You raked
on
up
them.
your leaves, and whether you had them in a pile or in a basket or something, they would come by with the truck and take them away.
Why is that different than the truck doing it on Tuesday?
Now, wait a minute now.
You mean when the garbage collection?
Yeah, the compost guys will take all the stuff.
Yeah, you let it dry out, and you put it in compost.
Yeah.
That's why we have compost pickup.
Yard waste.
That's yard waste, but I think if it dries out, I guess you could, but
Yeah, that's where at least that's where I put on mine.
Yeah.
Drag it out, throw it out front, throw it in a can, and then it goes out the compost.
In a can or a bag, and it's
Yeah.
gone.
On Tuesdays.
Yeah. Well, ours is
Okay.
Monday. We're the trendsetters. Ours is.
Your Monday?
Yeah.
Mine's
They're on Laguna. We live
Mine's
large.
But I mean, going back to that, the issue with the dock, or the fishing spot, I mean, there's got to be are there other areas in the lake where we can do things to make it more, like you said, more friendly
Yeah.
to the non-riparians? Are there any major issues that they've brought up or complaints they've had? Things that we can work on to improve that?
I guess the big thing that I've seen is people looking for places to fish, and you can fish basically at the boat launch, at the road endings, and off that bridge.
Yeah. But not on the Oak Island Bridge.
Right.
Yeah, not on the Oak Island Bridge and not on the berm, but it's basically,
Right.
like I said, road endings and that walkway.
Yeah.
Right? And I just know that last year specifically, we had people discussing the fact that it's really difficult to fish off the walkway.
Is that entire berm privately owned? I know one half has,
Yeah, well, one half is on the, you mean over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, one half is by the liquor store and one half is by the homeowner on the other end. Okay, so I guess right now I have $1,000 for the safety festival, $3,000 for the website based on the RFPs. What else do we think we need there?
Well, I was going to bring up, this whole Clean Boats, Clean Water Act thing, as far as the grant that I'd like to apply for.
That's basically the $10,000 we had this year that we didn't use, so.
I just think the signage, the process that we have right now, that little plastic sprayer, I mean, I don't think that really does an adequate job, but I think, the signage, just to make it more, draw attention to people to actually do something about it. And part of this grant that I want to submit for, the grant goes towards education, to pamphlets, to flyers, to educate the locals who are using the lake.
It's a match, right? Is it a match? You spend so much, they match the rest?
Well, one's a grant, you can get up to $2,000 to $3,000 for,
Okay.
and then there are some things that the DNR will also match as well, so there are a couple of options.
I'm gonna just quick search an email real
Well,
quick.
we've talked about it before. You put a fish cleaning station in, and it's not going to be cheap.
Right,
Because you got to do something with the drain water that you just put in the boat.
Well,
And if you're going to store it, you got to pump it.
yeah, well, there are a number of different types of stations that this CD3 has. Yes, so the very extensive one that's got all of that, but there are others where it's just removal of debris, the plants, draining the village, and so, I thought if we were to apply for this grant, I know you, Ryan, you had balked at the idea of spending $2,500 on this particular
And a
unit they
sink and
have. What's that?
A sink and a salt.
It wasn't even a sink, it was like a brush.
Well,
It was a very technical brush.
but I'm just saying, I mean, if we apply for this grant, I mean, that could offset the cost for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mentioned it before, and, if we can get it, fine, but I have a bird's eye view of there. And I'm going to tell you, at least 75 to 85% of the boats don't clean their boats
Yeah.
until they leave.
Right.
If
Well,
they do.
That's when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, that's really when they're supposed to.
Right.
What is that good is that doing in Wolverine Lake?
Well,
If they come
the
in
hope
with a
is-
dirty boat,
Right.
and then they run in the lake and whatever in it. And besides, I can tell you right now, except for maybe Green Lake, most of the lakes around here, you name it, they've got it. Zebra, mussels, chub, gopher, growies. It's just like on the Great Lakes. It's really this, unfortunately, nobody knew how bad this would be, but this should have been done 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
But
Well,
Okay,
it's
so,
still a viable program
So I want to get us real back in here, because we got to put numbers in a sheet
Yeah.
of paper and send it. So
Okay.
here's what I have so far, and you guys comment on what you want. I'm going to go through things that are maintenance stuff that basically we just always hold a budget for, TBD on what it's going to cost. So the harvester, we always hold $3,000. We'll hold the same $3,000 for maintenance there.
Yep.
We spent $2,800 this calendar year, so $3,000 seems like the right amount. The dam repair and maintenance, we always hold $1,000. We haven't spent any money this year on it, but it's something that we hold in case something comes up. Lake level pump maintenance, we've held $4,000 in the past. We've changed it to $2,500. We haven't had to spend much of anything on the lake pumps. We've spent nothing this calendar year. I was proposing just holding the same $2,500.
Okay.
The berm repairs, so not the dam itself, but the berm. We've always had a $1,000 placeholder. It used to be $5,000. We dropped it to $1,000. We haven't spent any. We had that massive berm repair project 2 years ago.
Right.
That was the bulk of it. There shouldn't be anything, so I just have a $1,000 block.
Okay.
I'm going to skip down to the fish stocking. We always have and spend $2,500 on fish stocking. I feel like it's an appropriate amount. I don't know that we need to increase or decrease that, so $2,500 for fish stocking.
Well, is it adequate what we do in terms of the fish stocking? I mean, could we do more?
Oh, yeah. The more the merrier.
Good.
Didn't we try
I don't
for
know
more
that we've
last
seen
year and
anything
get
that says
shot
it's
down?
not sufficient.
I thought we tried for more last year and got shot down.
I think the last year, a lot of the fish we wanted weren't available.
So
No,
in 2021
it
and 22, we always had $2,500 and we used $2,500. It's been what we've been using. So
Okay.
But is that adequate to cover
Well,
the fishing?
What we're
that's
doing is the walleye population does not reproduce, so they say, but I've seen some this big. And when we get them, they're usually 10 inches to a foot. So there must be a couple horny ones around or someplace.
Well, I'm just asking, are there any other fish or more of a certain type that we should be
Well, we got
considering?
bass are the ones that get caught and get taken out of the lake. You know, go show somebody. They're not particularly good eating, but, you know, it's not like eating a carp. Lake's not deep enough for trout or cold enough, so, you know, I remember seeing a lot of bluegills in this lake years ago, and I don't see them like I do now, which I think some of these predator fish are cleaning them up. So I would think that if we could get something like in the panfish category.
Right.
I've dove in this lake and seen schools of perch, but I don't think one of them were over 6 inches long.
Right.
So,
I think last year we talked about doing an actual redoing the fish count and the fish survey. It's something we had budgeted in the board projects last year.
that would be,
So let's do that.
that would be
Yeah.
money better spent than something else.
Okay, so actual.
Was
fish
that on
count.
here somewhere, fish
Yeah,
count, is that on there?
No, it's not something that's a line item. It was part of the board projects. I don't know how much that cost.
Mhm.
I would assume it would be probably $1,500 or something. Okay, so fish stocking, I'll say keep it at 2,500. The waterfowl, so we do the Goose Roundup.
No, there's no Goose Roundup
Not anymore.
because of the viruses in birds. So they're not doing that. You're able to get the permit for destroying nests and shaking eggs, okay? But no Roundup because they don't want to move infected geese to other areas.
When
if
did that
there are.
happen? When did that?
Oh, that
This
was
year.
just,
This year, that's a
yeah,
new thing?
I
This
think this
year
was the
it's-
first year.
yeah, first of the year, I believe.
So
Whatever this avian virus or whatever.
So
avian-
that we had previously been budgeting $2,000 for. We spend around $1,000 or $1,250 on that. So, I mean, I'm assuming we're still going to do something about.
I think if you
Nests.
kept it at $1,000, if there's
Right.
anything involved, you know, that you need to destroy nests or
Can always
whatever.
rob Peter.
And if we use it, fine. If we don't, you know.
Okay, so we've been carrying a huge budget here for lake restoration program, which was the erosion project. We had $20,000 there that we basically have spent essentially nothing on. So
So what was exactly the plan with that? What was the vision?
So we had a lot of people come in, talk about, not doing seawalls, right? Doing a natural shoreline, being able to engineer the shoreline with natural, with riprap and with
Foliage.
native species of plants that are designed to maintain a shoreline without a seawall, right?
Right.
And it was all in this vision of, maybe we get away from seawalls in X years, which is obviously never going to happen.
Right.
But the goal was to say, hey, listen, we could take a property, which is village-owned, that is in disrepair, and repair it as an example with
Yeah.
this as a educational and something,
Yeah.
right? So we went around the lake and we were looking for properties which were village-owned, that we could spend the money on repairing things that were already in disrepair, and doing it in such a way that was a demonstration of natural shoreline as an option for homeowners to actually see, and, it's something that could help with, the effect of the waves hitting and coming back and whatever. So we talked about this forever. We had people come in, we talked about all these different projects, they talked about the different types of plants and how you can engineer a shoreline and stuff like this. We got the budget for it, we were like all fired up on it. Mike Hurst was driving it. And then it came to finding the location at which we wanted to do it. And I would say half of us were tied up with saying this one spot over by the halfway down Penny Lake. And then at the time, John Scott was like really wanting to do it all the way at the south side of Penny Lake, down by, where Kaya is,
Yeah.
where that park is. And we kind of went back and forth, and then the budget year changed, and we carried the budget again, and we never picked a spot and never did anything.
Do we
About 12 or
suppose, though, that-
15 years ago, they tried that at a road easement.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem we have is the wake that the boats in this
Yeah,
lake
but-
kick up.
But
No plant is going to be able to survive that.
But that was the point of this thing. We had people here, and we had presentations from the
Now, if you put
companies.
rocks and boulders out there
Yeah.
to break it all up,
It was a whole combination of riprap
Yeah.
and the natural seawall, and like the first 3 feet being natural plants and stuff like this, and it was a stack up. And we had like 4 different companies come in and do presentations on natural shorelines and
Yep.
saying that this can massively reduce, like when waves hit the wall, it just piles back out into the middle of the lake and all this stuff. And it's not like we were delusional thinking that everybody is going to get rid of their seawalls.
Yeah.
But it was something to think about when your seawall fails, if you can see something that does work, right? And this was part of the problem. If I go to the map, you're like,
isn't-
this is why we couldn't come to an agreement. Because half of us wanted it here,
Yeah.
where there's always skiing and wakeboarding here, and it's a big wave area, and if it can survive there, and there's a lot of erosion off the road, if it
Yes.
can survive there, it can probably survive anywhere.
Anywhere on that.
And then John Scott, some other people wanted it way down here,
well,
where
that's
there's,
John Scott.
where there's no wake,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
this wouldn't prove anything.
No.
So we were talking about trying to get it done here, and then
Yeah.
if we did it, we should, but there was some complexities with the road easement here, that there were some things we weren't able to get around. But we
Right.
were trying to find a spot that was where there is a ridiculous amount of wake, to see if it would work, and if it could work there, then people would actually believe it's a viable option,
Yeah.
right? Putting it down here defeated the
that's-
whole point of it.
So what happened? How did it?
Nothing.
Nothing happened. We went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We carried the budget for 2 years and we accomplished nothing. And we talked about it for 10 meetings, couldn't get an agreement and never got anything done. And then Mike Hurst left the board.
I just take it off.
Yeah. So,
But I thought, I've been reading in, the Riparian magazine, the upfront, isn't there a new law now that if you have to replace your
have to
seawall,
put
that
riprap.
25% of it, of the length of that has to be some sort of weed, some sort of native plants or riprap?
I don't think so.
not that I know.
I had a neighbor who
Maybe.
just put one in last year. It's all wood, it's
Okay,
all.
all right, I'm gonna look that up.
So,
again. I thought-
so going back after my rant, after years of kicking that project down the line. So we had $10,000, $20,000 in the budget for that project, never came to fruition.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Okay, taking it out. Okay, the next couple line items, let's just blast through this quick. This is painful. Oh, so publications, printing of publications, we're carrying $1,000. I think we should continue carrying it because we talked about doing the pamphlets. Remember last time, even last meeting, we talked about the pamphlets at the DNR boat launch. We
Yes.
should do it.
Yep.
We got $1,000 there that I'd hold. And the conference dues, so we talk, there's a handful of conferences that we've sent people to in the past. We generally don't spend more than $500. We hold $1,500, which I think is reasonable, especially if we do manage to expand the board. Well, we're only sitting at 5 right now, but if we get up to the full capacity, I think we're gonna want that budget, so.
I agree.
Okay, so then the last thing is this lumped category of board projects. Right now, I have the website, the safety festival, and the fish count. The things that are not on the list are the heron nesting, the fishing boardwalk, and I think that's it. Are there other projects we want to put money on?
Yes. I don't know if it's a little bit like one of the other unsolvable problems, but muck in the canal has always been something that.
Okay, that's budgeted already, but the state wouldn't let the contractor bring the equipment in because of the frost laws, okay? The big culvert off on Shankin,
Yeah, that's different.
that's budgeted to be cleaned out.
Yeah,
That's different
But they-
than what we were talking about. We were talking about, when we were looking at it before with Kathy Duff, was part of the thing, is this whole area through here becomes,
Yeah, but it was,
Horrible.
that whole thing
But-
was,
But see, that culvert, if they clean it out, will let that flow. And they're putting it off till the fall,
yeah,
before the frost laws come in again.
yep. So that whole thing, I mean.
That was on council's agenda this past week.
Again, we keep having, I mean, you've been on the board as long as I have,
Yeah.
we keep having people come and complain about it, we say we need to get the citizens involved.
Yeah.
We need to get a commission, a little
Yeah,
squad together.
yes. Yep.
Kathy was on it, she lived down there, we said, we need you guys to organize,
yeah,
get an action plan, let's make it actionable and do something, and then it never happens. So
Right.
it basically amounts
Yeah.
to a lot of.
Talks cheap.
yeah.
A lot of complaints and nobody actually wanted to do anything, and
And
it's difficult.
For the years that I've been here and the years I've been in council, and he can verify the same thing, you'll have a group of people come in, oh, we gotta get this done, we gotta get this, and this road's
want
gotta
you
be
to
done,
do
go,
it.
go, done, done. And then once you start talking about, then the other half come in, no, we don't want anything, just leave it the way it is. No, I moved out here, I don't need a street light on the corner, I don't need a paved road, and then,
All right,
Okay.
all right, so I'm gonna throw, right now, it's just $5,500 on board projects, which is the lowest we've had in years, but I don't wanna throw extra there if we're not gonna use it. Actually, we had 2,500 in 2021, so.
All right.
Okay, so that's the scope. I'll do this as a draft, send it to Mike or the new treasurer, and then we'll probably iterate on it once more, but I'll send this out to you guys.
Yep.
Okay, painful, but done.
Good job.
Okay, all right, Eagle Grant, what's up?
Well, I kind of shared that already, but, so anyway, I was on they had a seminar on clean boats, clean water, and there is a grant through Eagle that you can apply for. Like I said, it's up to $2,000 to $3,000, and it can be used, it's got to be used towards a number of things, towards clean boats, clean water, printed materials, signage, cleaning boat events. And I thought maybe that could be something, if we do this boat safety, there could be something, a little discussion about that at that time with the attendees. It pays for advertising and then lake maps. But again, there's a application process. So last year, a couple of local lakes around here and other organizations actually were able to get some of these grants. But again, they used it for aquatic invasive species education, They had boat cleaning events, but like I said, if there's something we want to do to sort of spruce up that whole area, because, I mean, like you said, I don't know how many people even see that thing or do anything with it, but I thought if there's something we could do to make that a little bit more appealing and a little bit more, you know, attractive for people to stop and take care of it.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, I don't know how much you want to put into the budget, but again, if we apply for this grant, you know, it's kind of takes it off our budget and we can get money towards doing that.
So are you saying,
But the cost of one is considerably more, isn't it?
Pardon?
That $2,000 that they grant would just be a portion of it, because
Yeah, it
you're
would.
looking at a lot
It
more
would.
money after that.
Yeah, it would. I mean, I don't think it'd be a significant amount more, but it's just something that I thought would be good for us, because the other thing too, will maybe spur more interest in that, and, you know, people wanting to get educated and trying to do something about the boat cleaning. So that was my angle for it, is just to apply for it, and then we would have to just identify what we wanted to do with that. Like, again, having some events out at the boat launch, you know, like an education day, pamphlets that we could produce and give out to the locals here, so.
so what are you saying? You want to be the champion of clean boats, clean waters, and apply for a grant?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
No, you mentioned, well, pamphlets for the locals. I think more than locals, it's those that come in that aren't locals.
Right, right. Well, that's
Because I
true.
think, no, I'm saying the local citizen, as a rule, have a concern
Yeah.
for the lake that they're involved in.
And I was thinking when they have the fishing derbies, that'd be a good time to, you know, educate the people that are out there for the derby. What do you think, Ed?
What, the fishing tournament?
Or the fishing
Or the
tournaments.
guys that come here all week and fish?
Well, the
tournaments?
tournaments, yeah, the tournaments. I thought that would be a good
Them
time
too.
to educate them.
The fishermen that come in for the tournaments.
I was kind of surprised that, I know it's a DNR launch, that when you have a fishing tournament, you don't have to make some kind of connection. I mean, this is a club that comes here once a week, and we don't get any information from them. I mean, you know, what did you catch and how many? If they're catching all bass, fine. But if they say, oh, we caught a couple nice pike, we let them, and just stick it in the mailbox when they leave. And I've been trying to get a hold of the one guy that, I thought I had him last year, but he said he retired. So I got to try to find out who's in charge now. But I said, you know, you use our facility, you clean the fish down here. It'd be nice to get some information, because if we can get information from you, we can improve the fish stocking in the lake.
And is that something that we'd have to talk to somebody at the DNR about that?
No, I already talked to the DNR. They said they don't have any control over it. I mean, they do the lake, but not the fishing tournament. So,
So who's the guy that you're referring to?
well, it's I've got the name of the club, but I don't have the name. I'll try to find it and get it to you or contact him, but I just said, you know, it would be nice, you know, you're using our facility and our parking and everything, and there's no charge, but just to give us simple information of what type of fish you caught on that particular day, and they usually fish every week.
What do you think we would do with that information? What do you think if we collect this? I'm not saying we shouldn't, but after we collect it, what do you think we do? We use that
I think one thing it will do is that, you know, if you're letting them go, you could be catching the same fish every week.
It's a dumb fish, but yes.
But it'll show us if they're not catching any pike, or they're not catching any walleye or northern pike, but they're catching bass left and right, there might be a shortage of that fish. And then when we take our survey, and our survey shows us that we're really short on these particular fish, and it backs it up with information from the tournament, it'd be pretty hard for the DNR to ignore us.
So we kind of somehow jumped from Eagle boat grants to,
Well, my whole
Fish-
point about it
yeah.
was that would be a good opportunity to educate the fishermen, you know,
Yeah.
on the whole clean
but
boat
as far as
water.
this topic of Eagle grant. You're
Yeah.
on it.
It can't hurt to
Yeah.
apply.
So
It's
it
your new
has to
baby.
be
We'll find a
submitted.
way to spend $2,000.
The applications are due in October, November.
Okay.
And
So-
then in March is when they announce the winners. So obviously, this would be for next season, not for this season.
So it's your new baby.
Okay.
You're on it. Okay, next, administrative report, current lake level. So we are increasing rapidly, which is good. We actually are getting rain. We're down 4.3 inches from summer low. So summer low is 1.8 inches below the nominal, so you could call it 6 inches total from the nominal of the summer, but it is rising. I didn't plot it out to see if it's going to get there. We'd like to get there by May 1st. Obviously, we're not running the pumps or anything. The intent is to try and fill the lake without running the pumps. We had a late start, but we did get rain, and we're getting more rain. So I've looked at the plots multiple times. I'm fairly confident it's going to be just fine. And with the rain forecast we've had in the miserable spring, it looks like we're going to get there, hopefully without running the pumps at all.
So was that work done on the Shank and Drive
No,
culvert?
so that's
Is
what he had brought up.
Oh.
Basically, they weren't able to get approval to get the equipment there before the frost laws were gone.
Oh, that's what that was.
So then they
Okay.
decided to say, just close the dam, because they had left it open for that.
Right.
So basically what happened is we
We let out
let out a bunch of water for no reason at
In the
all.
fall, when they open it, and the frost law isn't in effect, that's when they plan
Yeah.
on coming in.
So basically-
With the equipment to dredge it out.
Yeah, we did exactly what we said we didn't want to happen.
And it did it, yeah.
And did exactly that.
Did it with gusto.
Yes, exactly. But with that said, it looks like we're, at least when I look at the plot over the last month, which we can plot and we can extrapolate it out, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape come the 1st of May. Noteworthy complaints from the village, I don't have anything. I haven't seen anything, but the boats aren't in yet, so I would say.
You're
And
starting.
when are they going to apply that
Let's
algae?
say that next one right now, so key date calendar review, so a couple things to talk about there. So May 1st, obviously, our budget's due, that's why we just worked on it. May 1st is when we try and target the lake to be at its lake level, which it looks like it's going to be there, which is good. Typically, the first treatment is May 15th, but we're getting the early one in, right? So April
For the canal?
April 25th, we've got the Sea Clear product going down in the canal. It's basically only a treatment in the canal, which is like the more expensive, longer-lasting, copper-based Sea Clear product that is strictly for algae. So this is like as early and as best we can do.
But let
And
me
then-
ask you though, I
Yeah.
mean, is it too early? I mean, is there a point where,
We can't do it, we can't use that product in May.
is that when that ordinance, that law goes into
Yeah.
effect? Oh.
So starting, but again, the homeowners in the area have been looking for preemptive action before there's a problem and blah, blah. So it's this slow releasing copper-based product that last year when we applied it, it fixed that area, right? And
But when did we apply it last year?
after there was a problem. But it's like a slow release, right? So
So when does the algae typically peak in that area?
we.
I'm just asking, are we putting it in
Once
so
it
soon
starts
that we're
getting
gonna like
really warm.
this?
We've had it early in May. Last year, it was early in May, but it was also a really dry spring, and it warmed up much quicker than it did this year.
So what I'm just asking is April 25th, is that like?
It's early.
Is the effect gonna come and go before the algae is gonna
We
peak?
will learn that, but we don't have an option to do it later,
Yeah.
because we
Okay.
can't.
There's a
do it.
very small window to apply that.
Yeah. So we're going for it. We said
Okay.
we're gonna do whatever it takes this year to try and make that area, we're gonna take the preemptive action, and here it is.
Okay.
It's happening April 25th. And then, I believe May 4th is the
Yeah, the. cut-
survey,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
plant survey,
Yeah.
where they'll go out and do the native plant survey on May 4th. So those are the two things I got on the calendar here.
Yeah.
That's all I had there, those two treatments. Okay, continuing business, plant control invasive species. I'll just leave it with the 2 dates I just talked about, that we have the treatments going out and the survey going out. One thing, I don't know if you guys saw, when we get to the harvester, or I'd say signage at the boat launch, let's get to that.
Done.
So that's done, installed, we're gonna strike it from the agenda, no more talk about signage at the boat launch. Harvester discussion, so typically we get the harvester going the 1st of June. We are down an operator, so although we talked about it all winter, about confirming we have an operator, and we did that multiple times through the year, I think Grant is not going to operate this.
That's right. I spoke with them last month, and I
Yeah.
found another possible replacement.
Okay, so I haven't checked with Dave to see if we have enough people or if we still need people. But in addition to asking everybody you know about joining the water board, we should find out if we can get another harvester operator. So if you guys know anybody, or anybody on the video know anybody who wants to be a harvester operator,
Like I said, I have someone who has interest, and I put him in touch with Dave.
it's like the perfect retirement job.
I can't wait to retire, that's what I want.
I sent it to my
I'm
dad.
gonna fight for that job.
I said, time to sell your house, move to Michigan, I got a job for you. Drive this harvester.
I'm retired and I don't want it.
No? Oh, come on. Get out there in the morning in the sunset,
I love it.
bring your coffee,
Yeah.
buzz around the lake. I mean, come on, that sounds
Until it
great.
stops in the middle of the lake.
way.
That sounds like an awesome job to me. Okay, so harvester, big thing there is asking around.
So
I'll reach out to
follow
Dave.
up. Okay, I'll talk, because I mentioned the gentleman that, I sent you an email on that, did you recall?
I don't,
Okay,
but that's
all
not
right,
saying
well,
you
he is
can do it.
interested,
Okay,
and he lives on the lake.
okay. Continuing business, lakeshore maintenance, erosion cleanup, debris. If anybody has anything to talk about there.
What, does that happen? I mean, when does that happen?
This is just general topics. Like we said, we had that erosion project. These are like things that were on there, continuing business. There's not anything specific.
Right.
I don't think we've talked about anything specific in this area. The only thing is we had, again, in the one side, we had that request to pick up some debris, and they never came to the meeting to talk about it. It was some emails.
Right.
Okay, lake enforcement issues, like I said, it's kind of early right now, no knowledge of anything that we need to do there. I'm gonna follow up and just find out when the buoys go in. The buoys are not in there, but the boats are in. I'll follow up with the chief and just find out when the buoys go in for the no wake zones.
Is that something you follow up with the chief or? with
Yeah, they
Andy?
put it in. The police put it in.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Huron Valley Watershed Council, you said that there's no update there?
Nope.
Okay, Water Management Board, goals and objectives, I'm gonna send this out, I did work on it. It's a document I was actually just reading the projects from, which I don't think we have any action to do with it. It's kind of a single document that talks about, lake health, lake safety, recreational use, the types of projects that we might have on the agenda moving forward.
You'll send that out.
I'll clean this up a little bit. I'll update it based on our discussion tonight based on the budget, and then I'll send this out for people to look at if you're interested. So I have that updated finally. Clean Boat, Clean Waters, you already talked about, so I'll skip that. Website content. So I got a message from Dave. So for the website update, we sent out an RFP to 3 companies. One was Paul Hausler and Progressive AE. They were interested, they asked a bunch of questions, and then they decided that they're kind of too busy and they didn't want to do it. So they just decided not to bid on it. Another company didn't reply at all. And then a third company who actually did the village website that we currently have replied to the RFP. So we have a single response at this point. And just for everybody to remember, this was about building that dynamic map on the website. So the RFP that came in, again, it was from websites by JAH, who's Julie. She's a resident of the village. Significantly cheaper than I think it should be. The quote was $725, which I think is probably underestimating the amount of work this actually is. So I was gonna kind of reach back out to Dave and see if she has any examples of anything similar to what we're looking for. See if there's any other companies interested in responding to the RFP, if we could find other companies. If not, certainly Julie's done the village website, so she'll probably do a good job. It's just significantly cheaper than I thought it was going to be, based on what I think is actually.
And you're complaining about that?
No, I just am afraid that it might be underestimating what we're actually looking for. So right now we have one response there, so I was going to reach out, talk to Dave, talk to Julie, make sure that everybody's in sync on what we're actually requesting, and then worst case scenario, like I said, the budget that we just put in, I put some money in there, I'll request some money there. But we at least have somebody who's interested in doing it, which I think is going to be worth pursuing. Okay. Future business items. So this is just open discussion. I don't know if anybody has anything you want to add for future business. Anything exciting from Arizona
God, yes.
or something that you need to?
Arizona, it was
Is that where you were in
fantastic.
Arizona? You were in Arizona, right?
Okay, a lot of things as far as the village is concerned. If you probably know, we did hire a new treasurer,
I saw that.
Jennifer Hansen, who was a previous employee of the village, and she lived here at one time. She'd been gone roughly 10 years, and now we have rehired her back as the new treasurer, and she went ahead and started Monday, and then next week, we're sending her off to classes, right, for training. Well, it's an open training program that, you know, we pay for them, and I think there's 2 or 3 classes a year.
It's like a conference or something?
Right, and it'll enhance her position and improve what she can do in the future. And Mike Kondick is going to stay on, you know, a day or 2 a week, whatever it takes, to help her through things and, you know, kind of hand feed her if needed. And, you know, we had a couple of other applicants. We had it down to Jennifer and another individual, and just like the day before for interviews, that individual dropped out. So, and Jennifer does bring a lot of quality to the position. You know, her references are great from White Lake and when she worked here. So hopefully it'll be a long-term relationship and it'll work well.
Okay.
So take care of that. Okay, the budget, just to let you know, we're taking some huge hits, okay? Paving has gone up double, all right? We got a bid to do Clara Miller Park, okay? The paving there. And it's like $98,000 from what it was down. It's up $25,000 to $30,000. I mean, the asphalt numbers have gone just through the roof, and they don't see anything coming down. And in order to maintain the roads, you know, we've worked on a 5-year program, and we're looking at a 7-year program. And again, it doesn't mean that that'll be the way that we go, but we're trying to keep it so the village doesn't run into major costs, where a road is totally deteriorating, you know, along the edges and things where you have to reconstruct the whole thing. So that's something that's got to be looked at.
Are there any priority roads right now that need work more than others?
Well, hang on a minute. I thought I brought that with me. Let me double check.
Bob, is the intention to redo the parking lot this year?
Which parking lot is that? Here?
No,
Clara Miller. No, Clara Miller is is one of the highlighted items here this year. Okay, Wolverine Drive is a major concern, okay? The 21-22 budget was $109,000, okay? And I don't know where it's gonna be. Then there's other projects, you know, West Drive, Pinecrest, Sunset Meadow, all right? And then for 22-23, we've got South Commerce is a major option, Wauketo, which they want to eliminate, and Brushwood. Those are the last two streets that are unpaved in the village. Those, Wauketo for sure, and Brushwood. Wauketo's in the neighborhood of $15,000. It's just a short stretch there, with, you know, a street and a half, basically. And then we're looking, if and when we do that, we're looking at adding a few more parking spots where they put the, was it tennis courts that are there where they blocked it off? Because there's only a few slots. So they're thinking about adding some additional. And again, it all comes into a cost factor. I mean, we've sat here and the budget is out to 25 and 26. And we don't know what the costs are going to be down the road. The fund balance that we had is going to take a big hit, okay, this year. So we don't know. We're going to be sitting down next month to review the budget. It's unfortunate that the costs are going up, but it's the reality of what's going on in the country. Then we go to the police department, okay? We passed at the previous meetings for a new police car, which is in, but they're waiting on the chip for it, okay? So who knows when that's going to happen. We've also budgeted for a police boat, but that probably won't happen into the next year's budget, but it's already been pre-approved. Radios and cameras, okay, to bring it up to date to accommodate and correspond with the Oakland County radios and things, all right? You know, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's the sign of the times in order to keep up with them communication-wise, because dispatching is done out of Oakland County. So that's another cost factor. And then the chief has tried to hire a part-time officer. We're just not getting any response at all, okay? So,
Posted it on Facebook.
yeah, they put an ad out for a full-time officer, okay? And we'll see what'll happen there. If we get good response or not, we don't know at this point. That just, I believe, well, our meeting was last week, so that just hit the wavelengths as of Monday. And also, the chief has presented the council with a new package for himself, okay, which is whether it's raises, retirements, the whole ball of wax. It's not for public knowledge, but the fact is that he has presented it to the administrative committee, which we've got to now sit down and talk about it, and then
He
have a...
presents his own compensation?
Pardon?
He presents his own compensation?
Well, yeah, he presents, you know, for his raises and everything, because he's not union, okay?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of negotiations for his point of view. He has expressed that he hopes to retire in 25 months, okay? He'll have like 28, 29 years here in the village. And again, this is all stuff that's in the flow. You know, it's not public knowledge as to the numbers and things, but the reality is that this is coming. So I'm not stepping out of bounds in telling you people or anybody listening, okay? But that's down the road also. Claire Miller Park, we did get a okay on a grant for $100,000, which, you know, is for equipment and things. But in that, we have to match $100,000, all right? So the numbers just keep flowing.
How much more do they plan on doing?
Oh,
They
there's
haven't
gonna,
even replaced anything down there. The master plan down there is,
yeah,
they haven't even scratched the surface. They basically put the bathroom in.
Yeah, it's,
here,
That whole park is, I mean, the park is is really
It won't be a
Okay.
village, it's not
All
gonna
of
be a
this.
village park, it's gonna be
All
a
right.
state park.
Yeah.
It's
All
just
of this is
ridiculous. the
From
stuff.
2018, when it was initiated. Okay?
And that thing has gone through multiple.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like
There's been a
everything
lot
from
of
the park,
changes and,
The fields, up to
Right.
those tennis courts and the trails and like. the
And,
whole thing has been on the plan for a long time to get redone.
right, they've replaced some slides and
They
things.
put one purple slide in there.
Well, they have to because the poles that were into the ground were starting to rust and the potential of collapsing and somebody getting hurt.
But it's
so-
gonna be all like, I don't know if you've been up to Scarlett's Playground, like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's all like level, like ADA compliant and like
Yeah.
for accessible for everybody and stuff like that, so that's the intent.
And really, other than that, I guess I don't really have a lot to say. I came back 3 weeks too early, but,
It's about 4 months off days right there, so.
yeah, that's what I was there 4 months, and my youngest daughter lives in Phoenix, so it was a nice getaway.
Cool. Well, welcome back.
Well, it's a pleasure, nothing like home. I know, I was kidding, people say, how was it? And I kept saying, the greatest thing was, for 4 months, I didn't have to touch a snow shovel, till yesterday.
Oh,
You know.
I hope you didn't touch a snow shovel yesterday.
Oh, I did, I had to get it off the
I want to
deck.
ask you a question when you brought something up. As far as you know, is the parking lot in the park going to be resurfaced this year, or it's something in the
No,
future,
this is what our goal is this year.
this year?
Yep.
And Claremont.
Yeah, because even with restoration in park equipment and different things, there will be no heavy equipment or anything that comes in that would destroy the parking lot.
Well,
And that parking lot
that's
is in
the
a
point
bad way.
I was also thinking in my mind, if paving, and I know it's going up because I see it every day on the job,
Mhm.
that's something that could be some repairs done and put off for a year,
Well,
because the fact that
but we talked about that, and
it's cars and
there's so many areas that the repair factor would be over half the parking lot. So at that point, you might as well do the parking lot. No, I'm just saying
no,
that.
you're going through there 10 miles an hour.
Okay, but then if you do
Hey.
these spot repairs, and then down the road in a year, you gotta do them over again, so why not do the whole thing and be done with it? That's the consensus at this point.
What do we got on the planning commission?
Well,
Mr. Planning Liaison?
We have all sorts of fun. Actually, we had a meeting, but it was relatively short. We're going to do a site plan review of Glengarry Inn's request, but they didn't get an engineer review yet, so we're able to do
What
that.
is it again, paving?
Yeah, they want to pave and they want to modernize, the awning area. They want to create a situation where that can be a permanent outdoor seating area. And there were some things they needed to do to be able to do that. And get
That parking lot's a
for it.
mess too. I think
Drink,
that's what it is.
sitting there eating and drinking, people beeping the horn as they go by.
Yeah. Well,
If you throw out
can't-
a cigarette, it might land on somebody's plate.
Yeah. You can't prevent that, but there are some barriers they need to provide. And we did do an umpty-umph review of the master plan, and from at least our perspective, we sent our hopes to the board that it get approved. So I think the planning commission has done all it's going to do with the master plan, and sent it to the council for approval.
Cool. All right,
And that was it.
all right, so we got any additional comments from the board? If not,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn, I'll second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.